Let's talk about narcissists. Welcome back, everyone, to the You Will Be Okay podcast. I am sorry that there was no episode last week and I've been a little bit inconsistent. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, motherhood has been kicking my ass lately. I have been really getting whooped. Let me tell you, it's just been a lot. It's been an intense few weeks. I have 4 young kids and they've all just been taking turns getting sick. It's been a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of clingy babies, but we're getting through it. And I really am excited to do this episode because even though this space is very crowded with talk about narcissists, I've actually lived it. So I truly do have a PhD in narcissists because I lived it for a very, very long time. And what I'm seeing as a relationship coach is that the term my narcissistic ex is getting thrown around way too much. And I understand why, because it's just has entered the common vernacular. Like it's just such a part of the language, and in a way, it's kind of losing its meaning. And I think that that's because a lot of people don't truly know what it means. So I want to talk about that, and I also want to talk about the effect that it can have on you because I know it. Like I said, I lived it. I lived it. Narcissists can come in your life in any sort of relationship. It could be a parent, it could be a friend, it could be a coworker, it could be a boss. But I think the most devastating of all is when you're in a romantic relationship with a narcissist. I mean, no matter what, they cause your sense of self to completely unravel. But it's the romantic relationships that really can, and I'm not even exaggerating. They can absolutely wreck you, unravel you, dismantle you. And it's so you're not just going to naturally heal back together. It's not like a fracture that's just going to heal itself over time. No, like you really have to do some surgery. There are some fractures that you need to do some surgery, and this is one of them. And again, I'm so passionate about this because of the hell that I've been through. You guys know I have a book coming out in a few weeks. I really want the book after this to, I'm not going to make it a memoir, but to be like a Romana Clef, like about my lived experience. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if I can get there. Okay, so today we're going to talk about narcissists, and I actually want to read you an excerpt from my upcoming book, Detached, which comes out September 9th. So excited. All about detaching from a narcissist. Because to be honest with you, and I always say this about myself, and it's true, I am a much better writer than I am talker. I feel like I'm really honing in on my speaking skills, but anytime I just put something on paper, I'm like, why can't I talk like this? Like, why? And I don't even know what it is, like why my brain works like that. I'm just way better at writing. So I was gonna just do a class on narcissists, but I'm like, I should just read from the book because the book just sounds so much better. And this is the section, if anything, when I was writing the book, this was the section that I was like, oh, I cannot wait for people to read this. Okay, so let's chat. Let's talk. What is a narcissist? Not every guy who is quick to anger, who explodes at you, who is mean to you, not every person who bullies you, that does not necessarily make someone a narcissist. Now, a lot of narcissists have those traits, but having those traits doesn't automatically make someone a narcissist. There are other categories, like someone can just be selfish or emotionally immature or mean. Some people were just raised all wrong and are just horrible, selfish people. Those are all characteristics. Narcissistic personality disorder is a disorder. It is a deeply ingrained personality disorder that is tied to low self worth, a complete lack of empathy, and a constant need to feed their ego. If you listen to the episode that I did with Chelsea, where we talked about narcissists, she said the number one defining trait is this sense of entitlement, this feeling that the world owes me something. So, not every piece of shit is a narcissist. Sometimes they're just sucky people and the world is full of them, okay? So there's 3 main types of narcissists. You have your classic grandiose narcissist, and this is the one that everyone thinks of when you say narcissist. They're the ones that are loud and proud and charismatic, and they walk into a room and they expect everyone to just gravitate towards them. They chase praise, they dominate conversations, and they feel entitled to admiration. They're also the ones who will love bomb you with grand gestures and then tear you down when you stop reflecting their greatness back to them. This is the core thing you need to understand about narcissists. They don't relate to people as people. You are a means to an end. You are a means to achieve a goal. The goal for them is, above all, always to feed their ego, to feel significant, even though deep down they have absolutely no self worth. Okay, so that's our classic grandiose narcissist. Next, you have your covert narcissist. They're the ones that are a little bit more quiet and they're self pitying and very manipulative. They kind of play the victim role. And that's why it's not obvious that they're narcissists because we always think, oh, isn't a narcissist supposed to be super haughty and super arrogant? So the covert narcissist typically plays the victim to guilt you into submission. And they act like the whole world is out to get them. Poor me. It's not fair. I don't deserve this. Nobody sees my greatness. They twist their emotional wounds to make you feel bad for them. So they thrive off of that, you feeling bad for them. And this gives them leverage over you. It gives them this sense of control. This is why people who grew up in codependent households with parents who they were very enmeshed with, where they kind of were that caretaker role for their parents. Maybe their parents had substance abuse issues. Maybe they just had a parent with mental health issues. Maybe they had a parent who was just extremely emotionally immature. Those types of people are very vulnerable to a covert narcissist who just seems like he wants to be saved. And you feel like, oh, I'm sure that I could just love him back to life. So the covert narcissist might seem shy and soft spoken, but underneath it, they just want control. Then we have our malignant narcissist. This is your classic, like, sociopath, pretty much. This is the most toxic, dangerous of them all. These narcissists are vindictive, they are cruel, and they are capable of immense, calculated harm. They will gaslight, they will lie, they will cheat, they will emotionally abuse, and they will do all of this without remorse. If you've ever been with one, you probably feel like you've survived a war. Now, there's all kinds of other types of narcissists, but there's like the communal narcissist who does a lot of good for the community and just wants praise. But those are really the main umbrella types of narcissists. Okay. Again, above all, they have no empathy and they are completely entitled. Now, I want to read you the section on detaching from a narcissist from my book. Just a few quick things about the book. This book is not just about getting over a breakup. That's actually only one section of the book. I have a whole section on how to heal, whether it's a long-term relationship, whether it's a situationship. I have a section in there on narcissists. This book is really about reclaiming your self-worth and stopping the self-sabotage cycle and learning to regulate yourself so that you can not only have a healthy relationship, just have a healthy relationship not with someone else, but with yourself. And so that you actually can live the life that you've always wanted. The problem is so many of us are just so attached. We live lives like we're reptiles. This was me for a long time. I was totally a reptile. I couldn't generate heat from within. Reptiles need external sources of heat. I could not regulate. I was constantly looking to others to tell me who I was. And this is probably why I fell into this trap with this narcissist in the first place. Anyway, this section came to be, the book was complete. And then it hit me. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't even write about narcissists. I think because it's so personal to me and because it was something I wasn't able to write about for a long time. And there's a whole backstory on that. The narcissist wouldn't allow me to write about it. Anyway, that's the short of it. I never really got into it. And then it was so interesting writing this section because with all the other sections of the book, I was detached. I was detached as I was writing a book about detachment. Even though I was writing about things that did impact me greatly, even though it was an emotional experience in that, you know, some of the things I was writing about, I was like, God, if I had only known this sooner, like how much suffering would I have spared myself from? Like, I wish I knew all this in my 20s, but I had to live and learn the lessons so that I could share this all with you. So hopefully your younger years or your older years, wherever you are, will be a lot happier. But when I got to the section on narcissists, so like the rest of the book, I'm writing, I'm writing, I'm feeling a little bit emotional, but like I'm pretty calm. When I got to that section, there was venom in my veins. It's amazing how these things, and I've done so much therapy and so much trauma work and all the things. And I am, mostly not, I wouldn't say past it. I don't think you ever fully get past it, but like I've worked through it. We'll say that. There was fire in my body writing about this. And this is just a testament to like what they do to you and the impact that they have on you. I can't overstate it. And you know what? Again, not that good at talking, much better at writing. So let's read from my book, Detached, all about narcissists. So this is the section on detaching from a narcissist. Breakups in general are brutal. Breaking up with a narcissist, however, is an entirely different animal and deserves its own section. This is a specific kind of heartbreak, the kind that leaves you completely wrecked, broken, confused, and hollowed out. This is someone who walked into your life and made it feel like they saw you in a way no one else ever had. Not just saw you, but studied you, mirrored you, made you feel chosen, made you feel special. They created a fantasy that you were soulmates, twin flames, kindred spirits. And maybe you still feel like that's true. But here's what's also true. They shattered you. They got inside your head, made you question yourself, isolated you from your own instincts, and then discarded you like you were nothing. And now you're sitting in the rubble, not only grieving the person who made you feel special, but grieving the version of you that existed before they came along. Let's start here. It's not your fault, and it was never your fault. And then I have a whole section explaining the different types of narcissists, but we already talked about that. Why narcissists destroy so deeply? Narcissists destroy so deeply because they target your deepest insecurities, your need to be loved, seen, or enough, and use them against you. They don't just break your heart, they crush your spirit and make you question whether you're worthy of love at all. This betrayal of your vulnerability creates a wound that feels personal, as if you were uniquely flawed, when in reality, it's their pathology at play. Their love bombing hooks you, their devaluation dismantles you, and their discard leaves you grappling with both the loss of the relationship and the loss of trust in yourself. The trauma bond they create keeps you tethered, even when you know they're toxic, making detachment feel like an amputation of your very identity. But the discard isn't the worst part. The worst part is what it does to you. You start thinking, how could someone who said they saw my soul treat me like this? You replay every conversation. You write out long texts and impassioned arguments that make total sense, but somehow they never seem to land. They deflect, they twist, they make you feel crazy. They will whip up any sort of word salad to make themselves seem completely innocent and you seem completely unhinged. They were quick to anger. That's because you're being difficult and pushing buttons. Caught them flirting with someone else? That's because you aren't satisfying their needs. They disappeared for days? That's because you're too clingy. They insulted your dreams? That's because you're not being realistic. You think if you just explain it better, say it more clearly, present the evidence, they'll finally see the light. But they don't. They never do. And every time you try, you feel smaller until you feel like nothing. Eventually, you stop fighting, not because you've healed, but because you're exhausted. And that's exactly what they want. A narcissist doesn't just damage you, they shatter you bit by bit. They convince you your friends are jealous, your family is toxic, your job doesn't appreciate you. Only they appreciate you. Only they see the real you. They isolate you so you're easier to control. And because they've convinced you that they're the only one who truly sees you, you stay. You pour yourself into making it work. You ignore the red flags. You silence your own voice. Until one day they leave, because a narcissist doesn't care about you and will discard you the second a better source of ego fuel is presented. And you're left a shell, not just heartbroken, but disconnected from your own identity. You look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself. You're not with them anymore, but you're still not free. Because now you're stuck with the version of you they left behind. Oof. Ooh, that's it. That's what it is. That's what it does to you. Okay, should I keep reading? You know what? This is fun for me because I was unable to do the audiobook for my book. There is going to be an audiobook. It's just not narrated by me. Again, motherhood. I don't have to, I just didn't have the time to go and do this for 8 hours a day. But if anything, like I'm like, this is the section I want to read. Like I hope the woman that we hired to read the book, like I'm like, she has to nail this section. Okay, anyway, the next part just goes into how to come back from this. I got to leave something. I got to give you guys a reason to buy the book. But no, I'm not going to go over all this now, but I do give you all the steps on how to get through this. Gosh, this whole thing, this whole topic just brings up so much for me. Now I want to read my story. This is only a tiny fraction of my story. I just want you guys who've been through this to feel seen and to know that there is a way back. So I'll read you this section next. My story, loving and surviving a narcissist. I have helped many clients clean up the aftermath of narcissists, guiding them through the wreckage of manipulation, self-doubt, and shattered self-worth. The reason I can do this is because I lived it. My story isn't just a recounting of pain. It's a testament to survival, a beacon for anyone who feels trapped in the orbit of a narcissist, desperate to break free but unsure how. If you've ever felt like your soul was tethered to someone who fed on your light while dimming it, this is for you. It started my junior year of college, a time when I was starving for love, validation, and someone to make me feel whole. I was 21, vulnerable, and chasing fleeting connections that always seemed to slip away. Then I met him, Nick, at a bar. The spark was electric. His charm was intoxicating, his attention like a drug. That first night, I remember it felt like he saw into my soul. He said things like, "You're a slice of heaven, and I could see myself with a girl like you." And I ate it up. It felt so good that I ignored one glaring red flag. He had been dumped by his ex just a week earlier. My roommate tried to ground me. "He just misses having a girlfriend and wants to feel good about himself," she warned. And guys don't talk like that to girls they first meet. This is weird. I should add that back then, the term love bombing just was not in the vernacular. But I was already lost in the fantasy of being chosen. When his ex re entered the picture, I was a wreck, consumed by the fear of losing him. I'd do anything to be enough. When she left again and he came back to me, I felt like I'd won the lottery. But that was just the start of a vicious cycle, one that would strip me of my confidence, my friends, and my sense of self. Nick had a way of making me feel like I was the only one who truly understood him. He leaned on me, sharing his depression, his job struggles, his financial woes. I took it upon myself to fix him, believing that if I could make him whole, we'd have the perfect love story. I was addicted to his approval, living for the moments he'd call me special, even as his actions tore me down. He'd make subtle jabs at my appearance, my mental state, even saying he'd choose me because he knew he could never breed with someone like me. And so I was a safe choice. I was someone he wouldn't invest in too deeply. This crushed me, but it made me want to fight harder to show him I was worthy of him. Once, when I caught him texting another girl, he casually said he wanted to keep the door open for her. Yet I stayed, chasing the next hit of validation, convinced I could earn his love. The "what are we" conversation was a gut punch. He refused to commit, and my friends begged me to walk away. They saw what I couldn't. He was manipulating me, isolating me. He convinced me they were jealous, that they didn't want me to be happy, that they didn't understand what we shared. So I cut them out. My world shrank to his apartment, his needs, his moods. I was strong where he was weak, or so I thought. In reality, I was pouring myself into a void, trying to fix someone who thrived on my depletion. He had a knack for turning everything around on me. Every argument left me believing I was the problem. Too needy, too demanding, too much. My journal from that time is filled with self blame. I made his depression worse. My demands for a relationship were unreasonable. He'd reel me back with just enough affection to keep me hooked, only to push me away again. When I was available, he said I was smothering him. When I tried to leave, he said I was being cold and manipulative. I could never win. The kindest thing he ever did was break up with me after this men's retreat he went on. He said that the time apart made him realize how toxic this dynamic was. I was crushed, but I couldn't say he was wrong. Soon after I started seeing someone new, Griffin, and it felt so good and so nice to be with someone normal. But once I was moving on and feeling free and almost like myself again, it was like it was like a bat signal got sent out. Nick started calling me. And in true Nick fashion, ignoring the calls didn't work. He would just keep calling over and over and over until it wore me down. He knew exactly how to reel me back in. He said he was depressed. He punched a wall. He needed me. I was the only one who could help. I told him I was seeing someone else, and he cried and begged me to come back. And I did. And it was the biggest mistake of my life. He was wonderful for maybe a few weeks, and then everything devolved again. The main reason I stayed is that it seemed he truly couldn't live without me, but that soon proved to be very false. When we were long distance over the summer, he cheated. He left me for her and discarded me without a shred of remorse. When I called him and begged for an explanation, his voice was ice cold as he said, "What can I say? It is what it is." I'd given him everything, my time, my heart, my identity, and he walked away, chasing someone who could better stroke his ego. This absolutely broke me and caused a rippled effect that took many years to undo. And even though when we dated, I was a psychology major, and that semester I happened to be taking abnormal psych and was learning all about the cluster B personality disorders, I still didn't recognize what was right in front of me. He wasn't just a narcissist, he was a textbook narcissist, straight out of the pages I was studying from, straight from the exams that I always aced. But I didn't know. I thought he treated me terribly because I wasn't good enough. Years later, the truth hit me like a freight train. This is from a journal entry I wrote when I finally saw him for who he was. So in the book, I copy pasted. I always journal on my computer because my handwriting is horrendous. So I literally copy pasted this journal entry from years later when I realized who he truly was. He's a narcissist, self-involved, can't handle criticism, wants to be the focus of attention. Oh, sorry, I should add that he was back in my life at this point. We were actually business partners. Whole other story. He's a narcissist, self-involved, can't handle criticism, wants to be the focus of attention, can't empathize, blames others for how he feels, doesn't accept responsibility, doesn't apologize when he's wrong, thinks others are unjustified for being hurt, will make them seem like the crazy ones. I need to understand that the failure of my relationship with Nick had nothing to do with me. He can only love those who reflect a positive image of who he wants to be. I saw his ugly side, his weak side, his miserable state of existence, and I coddled it, making him feel more miserable. His love for Amy, the girl he left me for, had nothing to do with her. It was about how she made him feel valuable. She didn't even have to do anything. Her attractiveness and in-demand status were enough to make him feel like a winner. When she couldn't live up to his idealized version, their relationship crumbled. It was built on infatuation and fantasy, not love. And I will add his ego, fueling his ego. I can't believe I allowed myself to carry the burden of feeling unworthy for so long. I can't believe I fell for the idea that she was better than me because an insecure man-child decreed it so. I spent years seeking validation to prove I was better than an illusion, chasing shadows. The high from approval would fade, and the quest would go on forever. I could never let go of the fact that I couldn't get him to see me the way I wanted to be seen. I gave him all I had, but all he saw was a distraction. At the end of that relationship was the best thing that ever happened to me, but I never processed it in a healthy way. I spent too long idealizing the past, trying to reclaim missing parts of myself from external sources, instead of realizing only I could heal. It's like I've been split in two. The me stuck in the past with the same worth I felt when he left, and the me after, successful, admired, but unable to internalize it because he was out there not seeing me. Reading about narcissism transported me back 6 years. Yesterday felt like a rerun of my senior year, boxed in by the pain, suffocated by the good and bad times, as if the breakup just happened. How can something so distant feel so close? The pain is preserved in my subconscious, and it's time to break the code and set it free. It wasn't a breakup, it was an amputation. He was my universe, and when he left, he took my heart, leaving a dark, empty space. It's time to forgive, to have mercy on his shortcomings, and to move forward. I am so much more than this. This journal entry was my awakening. It was the moment I realized I'd been carrying the weight of a narcissist discard for years, letting it define me. Detaching from Nick meant more than walking away. It meant reclaiming my worth piece by piece. It meant forgiving myself for loving someone who couldn't love me back, for believing I was the problem. It meant understanding that his inability to see me was never about my value, but about his need to prop up a fragile ego. If you're reading this and you've lived it too, I know this. You are not alone. The pain of loving a narcissist is raw, suffocating, and real, but it's not your fault. You're not broken, unworthy, or too much. Detaching isn't just about leaving. It's about choosing yourself over and over until the chains of their manipulation dissolve. It's about realizing that the love you poured into them was never wasted. It was a testament to your capacity to love, and now it's time to turn that love inward. Whew, wow. How are you guys feeling after that? Please leave a comment. Wow, I didn't even expect to read so much of the book, but like once I got in there, I just got in there. And I really hope that this resonates with you. And if you're living it, I hope that you know that there is a way out of this. There is a way through this. This doesn't have to define you. In fact, it actually can be the catalyst for your growth. You might not see it right now. At the time, it can feel like the worst possible thing that has ever happened to you. And I know. And if you want to share your story, please email me, Sabrina@SabrinaBenzori.com, or DM me on Instagram @SabrinaBenzori. But you can get through this. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this little excerpt from my book. If you pre-order the book, you can pre-order it now. I'll include the link below. I will send you a free class on detachment. This was actually the class I taught. And I think somewhere in the middle of that class, I even say out loud, like, I need to write a book on this. And then so I did. I can't even believe it. Like, here we are. So I will send that to you for free. Just send me proof of purchase, just a screenshot showing that you pre-ordered the book. And you can email it to me, Sabrina@SabrinaBenzori.com, or send it to me over DM. Email is probably the safer bet. Sometimes things get lost in DMs. I hope this was helpful. as you guys know, this podcast is still relatively new. So if you could leave me a review, just even if you just want to rate, like tap the stars, you don't feel like writing anything, that's fine. I get it. I'm also not someone who typically leaves reviews, although I'm trying to get better at that because I know how valuable they are. Share this episode with a friend. If you have a friend who's ever dated a narcissist, had a narcissist in their life, share it with them. This will help. And please let me know what you thought, what else you want to see on this podcast. I mean, now that like I'm back in the zone, I have so many ideas and I'm so excited to keep going. And I do hope to be very, very much consistent with my weekly upload schedule because I really just love doing this. All right, that's all for now. I will see you next time.